There are wars that begin with the clash of swords, and there are wars that begin with a whisper. Long before the kingdoms of men were built, an ancient darkness ruled the northern mountains. The Orc Empire spread across the frozen lands, burning cities and leaving nothing but ashes behind. It took generations of sacrifice before mankind finally forced them into exile. For 1,000 years, the world believed the orcs were gone forever. But legends have a dangerous habit. They never truly die. Far beyond the northern sea, hidden behind endless cliffs and black forests, a massive army was gathering in complete silence. Thousands of orc warriors stood shoulder to shoulder beneath blood-red banners, while gigantic war beasts were dragged toward enormous ships. At the center of the camp stood a towering figure, the new Orc King. Unlike ordinary orcs, he carried himself like a conqueror rather than a savage beast. His eyes burned with hatred. "The humans buried us in darkness," he declared. "They stole our lands, our kingdoms, our future." His voice echoed through the valley. "But tonight, we rise." The entire army roared loud enough to shake the mountains. Drums thundered. War horns screamed. The age of men was about to end. Meanwhile, hundreds of miles away, life remained peaceful along the northern wall. The soldiers laughed around campfires. Some repaired broken armor. Others sharpened their swords while joking about going home after another quiet winter. None of them realized this would be the last peaceful night of their lives. Their commander, General Varric, walked alone along the stone walls. He had survived more battles than any man alive. Yet something felt wrong. The forest had become too quiet. Even the wind refused to blow. Veteran soldiers knew silence before battle was never a good sign. Suddenly, a frightened horse burst through the trees. Its rider was missing. The animal was covered in blood. Everyone froze. Varric slowly walked toward it. The saddle had been slashed apart. The rider hadn't fallen. He had been taken. Then, something moved inside the forest. While General Varric prepared the northern wall for another attack, the greatest danger wasn't outside the kingdom. It was already inside the palace. Far away in the royal capital, the old king lay dying. Age had stolen his strength, but not his wisdom. He knew the kingdom was changing, and he knew darkness was returning. Only one question remained. Who would wear the crown after him? The king sent an urgent letter, not to his eldest son, but to General Varric, the greatest warrior in the kingdom, the one man every soldier would gladly follow into death. When the message reached Varric, he immediately left the northern wall. Before leaving, he gathered his commanders. "If I do not return quickly, you will hold this wall, no matter what happens." The soldiers saluted. None of them knew this goodbye would change their lives forever. Days later, Varric finally reached the capital. But something felt wrong. Streets were unusually quiet. The palace guards avoided looking him in the eyes. Even the servants whispered in fear. It was as if the palace itself was hiding a terrible secret. Inside the king's chamber, old ruler struggled to breathe. His eldest son, Prince Corvin, stood beside him. "Where is Varric?" the king asked. "He rides here now, father," Corvin replied. The king smiled weakly. "Good. The kingdom will need him." Those words destroyed everything. Because Corvin had spent his entire life believing the throne belonged to him. Hearing his own father choose another man filled him with hatred. The king closed his eyes for only a moment. Corvin slowly reached beneath his cloak. A jeweled dagger appeared in his hand. His own father looked up, confused. Corvin, what are you doing? Without another word, Corvin drove the dagger straight into the king's chest. The old king gasped. Blood covered the royal bed. His own son had murdered him. Footsteps echoed outside. Someone was coming. Thinking quickly, Corvin pulled a second dagger from his belt. An identical weapon. One that had belonged to Varric. Months earlier, he had secretly stolen it. Now, he placed it beside the king's body. Every piece of the trap was ready.
The courtroom fell silent. King Aldrin leaned forward, a faint smile crossing his face. So, you choose the ancient law. Commander Kale stood tall despite the chains around his wrists. I choose truth. A murmur spread through the hall. According to the oldest law of the kingdom, any man accused of treason could demand judgment by combat. If he won, he would walk free. If he lost, his name would be erased forever. The king slowly rose. So be it. The gods shall judge. The great arena filled within the hour. Thousands gathered to witness what many believed would be an execution. Kale stepped into the circle wearing only battered armor and carrying a single longsword. The gates opposite him groaned open. A giant emerged, nearly 8 feet tall, wrapped in black iron armor. He carried a massive warhammer that looked too heavy for any ordinary man to lift. The crowd gasped. The Iron Champion. No warrior had ever defeated him. The king smiled. Begin. The giant charged first. His hammer crashed into the stone floor, sending cracks racing across the arena. Kale rolled away just in time. Again and again. Each strike shook the ground. The giant was stronger, but Kale was faster. He watched, waited, learned every movement. Then he noticed something. The champion always exposed his left side after a full swing. Kale smiled. Now. He slipped beneath the hammer, drove his sword into the gap beneath the giant's arm, and twisted. The champion roared. Blood spilled onto the arena floor. The crowd erupted. But the fight wasn't over. The giant grabbed Kale by the throat and